be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
Fantasy Headliners Nation. Headliner Nation. Fantasy Headliners for the nation. I'm a headliner. I'm a headliner.
Yo. Analytics off the chain. Other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.
Yo, Nation! My headliner family, welcome to 2025 NFL Draft Day. Ooh, I mean, how are we not excited, right? How are we not excited? Who had the cult classic, but absolutely stupid, but so amazing to watch Draft Day on at some point last night? Huh? Who watched it? You have to. It's so bad that it's so good. See? It's so bad that it's so good. Joe, WJM, yeah. What up, baby? Joseph, Briz, Dave, James, TJ, Trey, Gabriel, who's going to be seeing possibly Ashton Genty heading on over to his Jags this evening. James, TJ, and Trey are going to have a mud wrestling match, which we will be live streaming here on the channel. I will make a special guest appearance. I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I'll like run down with a chair, pretend to hit somebody, and then tear my shirt off. Jose, Joshua, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into a little pre-NFL draft live stream. Be a muddy buddy, alpha jerk. So over the last few years, we have always done a live streaming event for the NFL draft. This year we decided not to, and there's a few reasons why. The biggest reason was just last year we put together a huge production, had a space rented out, set up a stage and lights and cameras and equipment and blah blah, and we got maybe 2,000 people to watch it. You know, part of the reason why is people are watching it on ESPN. Part of the reason why is there's so many different places to watch instant analysis this year that we just didn't see a whole lot of people watching it. So we kind of retooled a little bit. Jake's daughter has a soccer tournament out in or a couple states away or a state away, I forget where it was now, that he really wanted to go to, so we want to make sure that that happened. My son started baseball this week, so we've been out on the field playing, headed towards the end of the school year. Just a lot of things going on right now. So we decided, let's just go ahead and stay put. Let's stay at the homes. Let's enjoy the draft. We're going to do instant analysis videos tonight. I'll be recording videos throughout the evening. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So make sure you got your bell notifications on. So all the instant reaction videos that we're going to be dropping, that you'll be able to check them out. you're going to be able to come back and watch them. I'll make sure we do a playlist. I'll share it in Discord so everyone can get it there. Most importantly, though, the draft guide, baby. The draft guide is almost here. You're gonna get some instant access here very soon. Alpha Jerk with a $5 donation. Can't wait to see what the Bears do at pick 10. That's where things are going to get interesting tonight, and we'll talk about the draft here in just a second. J Noise with his 41st month anniversary today. Jesse, appreciate you. Thanks so much with the hot dog and the peach. We all know what that means. He's hungry. It's lunchtime. Josh, becoming a member of the 31st month. Let's go, Draft Guide. Woo! Draft Guide's going to be banging this year, baby. It is every single year. Let's go. Draft Day is here. Happy Hudson. Jose, Draft Guide is so money. Yes, it is. We've been working quite a bit on the Draft Guide as well. Woo! Let's go. Do not speak Tyler Warren's name unless you were saying he will be a Jet. Ooh. That's starting to pop up a little bit more. Joe Camel, what's up, baby? So let's talk about the NFL draft a little bit. And I would say right now, towards the top of the draft, Cam Ward kind of locked in at number 1 overall. I think Travis Hunter goes to the Browns at number 2. I think Abdul Carter goes to the Giants at number 3. I think there could definitely be some things happening at the top of the draft, potentially with that number 4 pick. Do I think the Patriots trade out? No, I don't think the Patriots trade out. I think they stay there. I think it depends on who they take. Now, me personally, Armand Membo, who I've talked about so much this offseason, he's a better pick than Will Campbell there, in my opinion. I don't think people will fully agree with that. I still think Will Campbell is my number 2 offensive lineman. But for Will Campbell, I think that the majority of people get the sense that Will Campbell will be at pick number 4. Pick number 5, things have started to change greatly at number 5. The consensus basically all offseason long was that the Jacksonville Jags were going to draft a player out of the University of Michigan. And for a while, it was Will Johnson, and then it kind of switched over to Mason Graham, and it's been Mason Graham essentially since then. However, over the past couple of days, there seems to be a lot of noise for Ashton Jeanty at number 5. Now, that could be trying to get somebody to trade up. There are games being played this time of the year. That could definitely be some games being played by maybe the New York Giants or even the New England Patriots, trying to get somebody like possibly the Raiders to trade up and draft Ashton Jeanty, or the Bears. I don't think the Bears are trading up. I don't think they are. They might be thinking, can we get the Cowboys to trade up? For me personally, I think Jeanty goes at number 5 or number 6. I don't think he makes it past that. I don't think he goes before that. So I think personally, we see Jeanty go at number 5 or number 6 to the Jags or the Raiders. If he goes to the Jags, then I think Membo goes to the Raiders directly after that. If the Jags decide to go with a Mason Graham, which is either going to be Graham or Jeanty, I believe at this point, I don't think either one. It's going to be Graham. It's going to be Graham and number 5. I don't think there's really anybody else that they're really going to be going over. At number 7, to the New York Jets, Tyler Warren's name is starting to pick up very quickly. If Memboa were to slide, he would be available there. If Campbell were to slide, he would be available there. I also think a player like out of Texas, Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle. I think he would be available there. I think the talk of drafting a running back to replace Breece Hall is overblown. I wouldn't go that route. At number 8, really, I'm looking at 2 options at number 8 for the Carolina Panthers. Me personally, I understand why they want their defense to get better, and I do believe that they have spent a ton of money getting that defense better. However, if you really want Bryce Young to take that big leap forward this year, the way he did the last 3 weeks of last season, then we really need to think about getting him a wide receiver. Matthew Golden, Tet McMillan, or some sort of an edge rusher like Jalen Walker would be my pick here. J-Noise with the $5 donation. Bears going to get Omari and Hampton. We'll talk about them in just a second. I don't hate that, and I know you know that I don't hate that because I've mocked Omari and Hampton to the Bears before. I want to test something out. YouTube has this new feature where we can set goals. For Super Chats. And I'm going to set a 15-minute minor. 15-minute timer. I want to try this because this is new for this year. I created a goal. Let me see what it says. Fantasy headliners started a goal. Goal. I can't even talk today. So 5 light blue super chats or higher, and the goal, if we hit it, I'll love you all a long time. That's what happens. Cowboys will be a wild card since Jerry is still sinking. I mean, steering the ship. I think Jerry's just... I think Jerry's Jerry. Okay, so at number 9, this is where I think things get very interesting because there was talk about Shedeur Sanders here, and now it feels like that has cooled greatly. There was even a beat reporter today for the Saints that said, I don't see Shedeur Sanders at number 9 to the Saints. Now, if the Saints pass on Shedeur Sanders, then you have to think that at that point, that's where Chicago may start getting some calls. I still believe that there is a very real possibility that Jackson Dart will be drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. TJ, you love me anyway? That is true. But I'll love you long time now instead of short time. Jose with a $5 donation. PJ Harvey and Jade Higgins in the crosshairs. Jaden Higgins is an interesting one. His name gained a whole lot of speed, like fired up to almost the first round, and it feels like it's kind of coming back down a little bit. Casey, running late for leaving for Green Bay. Get on the road, my man, and drive safe, please. So you have to wonder if the Chicago Bears start getting calls at number 10, if for some reason Shedeur Sanders slips to number 10. I think he does. I think at number 9 that the Saints either go wide receiver or they go with Jackson Dart. I do not think that the Saints draft Shedeur Sanders. Now, why? There's a few reasons why I like Shedeur Sanders or why I like Jackson Dart more than Shedeur Sanders. Now, there's a lot that's going to come with Sanders that you're going to have to deal with, and you have to wonder if NFL GMs and NFL head coaches are interested in dealing with that. Because I just don't know if you're going to know what you're going to get from his dad. Great player. Deion Sanders was a great player. He is an extremely overrated coach. I think he's a good hype man. I think he's a good I think he's a good players coach, but I think that's about it. I think Colorado has been one of the most overrated college teams over the last couple of years. And luckily for Sanders, he just recruited extremely well because of who he is. Me personally, if I'm a head coach and I'm a GM, I don't want to have to consistently deal with Deion Sanders. I don't want to deal with getting calls from his dad because his son isn't starting and our first string quarterback is all over the place. I don't want his dad blowing up press conferences when he's supposed to be talking about Colorado and people are asking him, hey, how do you think Shadur's doing with the Giants right now? And then Deion Sanders goes on a rant about I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to deal with that. Deion and LeVar, Tom, that's a really good, but it's kind of the same thing, right? And honestly, I had forgotten all about LeVar Ball, but that is absolutely a really good connection there. LeVar Ball was constantly in the media, constantly talking about his kids, constantly criticizing coaches and players and front offices and everything in between. I don't want to deal with that. I don't. Maybe Deion doesn't do that. Maybe Deion keeps his mouth shut and stays out of it. Deion Sanders has never been anyone to keep his mouth shut, though. That's where the problem becomes. Now, if you look at just the football standpoint of it, I think Shedeur Sanders is a good NFL quarterback. I think he's going to be the type of quarterback that will lead an offense adequately. I don't think he'll turn the ball over a ton. I think he will make throws when he needs to make throws. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a quarterback that will consistently win you football games, though, especially when you're playing from behind. I think he's going to be the type of quarterback where he's going to need to have a really good run game and a really good defense to make things work for him. Jackson Dart has a better arm. Shedeur Sanders, a little bit better at processing. But one of the issues with Sanders so far has been the fact that if you watch his film, yes, he makes really good throws from time to time, but Travis Hunter was consistently wide open. The other wide receivers there were consistently wide open. Shedeur Sanders didn't have to stand in the pocket and go through his progressions all that much. Shedeur Sanders being the new Kirk Cousins, Jesse, I could get on board with that. Absolutely. If you're looking for a ceiling for a player, Jackson Dart is closer to being the current version of Patrick Mahomes. Not MVP Patrick Mahomes, not 50 touchdown passes Patrick Mahomes. Current Patrick Mahomes. He's much closer to being current Patrick Mahomes than what Shedeur Sanders is. Terry thinks Dart to the Saints. Happy Hudson thinks Dart's to the Saints. TJ thinks Shedeur is going to be a Steeler and Dart is a Giant via the Rams pick. I think the Rams are a dark horse to draft Shedeur Sanders, if I'm honest. The dad connection is overblown. They said the same thing about LeVar Ball. Lonzo and LaMelo are doing just fine despite their father. Well, that's because their father kind of fell into the background, right? He was a headache to begin with. But you don't look at Lonzo or you don't look at LaMelo and people don't constantly talk about them. They are not nearly the superstars that their dad made them out to be. I love Deion Sanders. I like the way he helps his players man up and prep for a life outside of football. I don't want his son on my football team. Anna, that is a great point. Again, and James says the same thing. Good leader, not an X's and O's guys. So it's the same thing, right? I think Deion Sanders was a heck of a football player. I don't think he's nearly as good as an X's and O's football coach. To me, he's kind of a Dan Campbell type coach with too much of an ego. But that's Deion Sanders. You get what you get with Deion Sanders, right? We know who he is. I'm not going to chastise about but he's closer to being Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell to me is not, and I'm a Lions fan, he's not an X's and O's guy. If he had really bad coordinators, if I didn't trust his coordinators, I don't know if Dan Campbell would have been successful as he was over the last couple of years. But Dan Campbell's got a great GM that has drafted extremely well with a young roster, a competent quarterback, regardless of what happened against Washington. A much better defense last year, regardless of all the injuries. And an offensive and defensive coordinator that got NFL head coaching jobs. That's what Deion Sanders is. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with Shedeur Sanders. I don't. Jackson Dart has a lot of upside. If you're going to have a quarterback sit for a year and develop, give me Jackson Dart every day of the week. I don't care if he busts. I'll take my shot with Dart over Sanders. You could say Dart throws a dart. Gabriel bringing some much-needed comic relief to the stream. Anna says, hey, friends, there are 127 of us here and only 44 likes. Can we fix that, please? There's 143 people here right now and only 55 likes. Listen to Anna. We haven't seen Anna for a while. I actually literally just messaged her the other day and was like, are you still alive? She is, by the way. Melo is definitely a top player at his position. He's on a shitty team. If he was in a major market, you'd definitely hear about him more. I mean, that's fine. I'm not a basketball guy, but I don't hear much about him. But he hasn't lived up to his dad's hype. That's what I am saying. Yeah, Lonzo was the second overall pick and has never played a full season and only averages 11 points per game for his career. Wouldn't call it doing fine. So, yeah, like that's kind of the issue there, right? Mark, what round are you drafting Genty? I'm assuming you mean like in redraft leagues, right? If you're talking about just like the actual draft, he'll go 5 or 6 overall tonight. If you're talking about like fantasy leagues and redraft leagues, I can't really tell you right now because we kind of have to wait and see how some things happen because we have to see where Omari and Hampton is drafted. And there's a lot of like round 2, round 3 running backs that if they go to the right place, they're really going to hurt some fantasy value. So that could end up knocking some guys back. So I can't really tell you. Is he going to be a borderline first round pick, whether he lands in Jacksonville or Las Vegas? Yeah, he's going to be a guy that he's going to be a guy that's on the cusp of the first round. I'm trying not to compare him to the Clyde's Edward-Helaire hype from a few years ago. But that's how it could end up being. I mean, I think he's a top 12 running back that should be drafted in the second round more than likely if he lands there. If for some reason he gets to Chicago, we're talking top 5 or top 6 pick. Yep. Rosetown becoming a member for the 30th month. Do the Niners get another wide receiver at some point to replace Debo? Yeah, probably. I would say yes. Maybe later in the draft, like a Savion Williams out of TCU, who kind of got some of that same type of play structure in his game, possibly. Casey Sullivan becoming a member of the 43rd month. Cornerback or wide receiver for Green Bay in first round, please. I've been going cornerback consistently there. It wouldn't shock me if like a Maxwell Harrison is there. Big Bank becoming a member of the 31st month. Best value rookie running back and wide receiver before landing spot. Woo! Tom G does not like my analysis today, but that's okay because I'm having fun. And we are allowed to disagree. Or, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't heard from LeVar Ball in a while. Tom G might be LeVar. What do we think? Let me know in the chat. Type 1 in the chat if you think Tom G is LeVar because he's sticking up for LaMelo so much. Type 1 in the chat if we think Tom G is LeVar. Best value rookie running back and wide receiver before landing spots. If we are going off my most explosive running back and wide receiver videos, I don't know why I'm holding this. I think it's my son's. It's going to be RJ Harvey, running back out of UCF. And it's going to be Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State. Big bank. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, LeVar got his foot sewn off. I do remember that. I forgot that happened. I don't mean to laugh at the guy because he lost his foot. Saints need to trade back from pick number 9, plan B. It depends. It's going to depend on who is there, and it depends on if someone's moving up. If they get a solid offer where they get a first-round pick this year and maybe a second or a third to go with it, maybe they get a first-rounder next year, maybe something like that, but I don't think they have to do that. See, Dart doesn't give me Zach Wilson vibes. Dart is a guy that has been a high caliber player in the SEC for a while. Zach Wilson had like 1 year of numbers. And when you watched his film, you could see him repeatedly make bad mistakes. With Dart, do you see some mistakes? Yes. But you see some throws from Jackson Dart that are, and this might sound like a hot take. You see some throws from Jackson Dart that look like number 1 overall throws. I'm not kidding. And Dan Orlovsky agrees with me because I told the guys about this. So a couple of weeks ago, I messaged the guys and I said, hey, this is pretty cool. Because one thing that I really wanted to get a whole lot better at over the last couple of years is an analyst was my draft coverage. And last year for me was a really, really good year, I felt like. There was only 4 players taken in the first round that I didn't have going in the first round. And then I think I got like 6 of the actual landing spots correct as well for people landing with certain teams. So I felt like last year my final mock draft was really, really good. And I felt like I made some good calls coming out of that draft as well. This year, I kind of felt like I took my analyzation of the draft to another level. And for me, kind of that reassurance was when I watched the film of Jackson Dart. He was the very first player I watched film on. He was the very first scouting report that I did for this draft class. And one of the things I said about Jackson Dart is he does a really good job looking off defenders. I think that's something that you don't hear a whole lot about from people who do draft analysis. Do you hear it from like the bigger people? Absolutely. I do believe that. But I also believe that that's not something that's widely talked about. And when I watched the film, Jackson Dart would use his eyes and his head and his motion to look off defenders to get his number 1 option open. And I thought that was one of his best characteristics. I have not heard anybody else say that about Jackson Dart as a plus. Until a couple of weeks ago when on NFL Live, Dan Orlovsky listed that as one of his top attributes of Jackson Dart, and even went as far to say that he does such a good job of it, that is an attribute that you see in number 1 overall picks. When I heard that, I got super excited. I would give anything to get Dan Orlovsky on a show here. I would love to sit down with Dan Orlovsky and just spit football for an hour, couple of hours. I would absolutely love it. I think Jackson Dart is a true talent. I don't see the only thing that I see the only comparison to Zach Wilson that you could make is that Dart does have that little gunslinger mentality. He's going to make mistakes every so often, but he doesn't make mistakes as much as Zach Wilson did. let me scroll back up here. Niners need running back over wide receiver. Maybe, but not in the first round. You have way more that you have to do in the first round. If the Niners want a running back, then they need to go. I don't think they should go wide receiver or running back in the first round. Let me make that clear. I think they need to go offense or defensive line. Kevin, Jags taking a running back would be laughable for the Jags. I don't think so. You have to remember they have a new head coach. They have a new coaching staff. They have an offensive-minded head coach. You've got Brian Thomas there. You've got Trevor Lawrence still. Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby have been okay together, but yeah, I don't think it would be laughable, and I don't think it would be a mistake. It would be them drafting best player available. CEH didn't work for the Chiefs. If Hampton was available, I'd have to give it some serious thought. Terry, I would be shocked if Omarion Hampton is there at the end of the first round. He'll be gone before then, I truly believe. Craig, I think the Raiders will trade up with the Pats for Genty if the Bears news is real. Maybe. I don't know if the Raiders are going to want to make a move. It depends on how much they're going to want. I couldn't see them giving up that much. I couldn't. Brian, do you think Henry is going to have a good year this year? Derrick Henry, I think it's going to be pretty comparable to last year. I don't think he'll run for as many yards. I think you're going to start to see the yards start to tick down a little bit, but the touchdowns will continue to be there. Greg, Washington trade with Cincy this year and next year one for Hendrickson. I would not, if I'm Washington, Trey Hendrickson is good, but there's going to be some very good edge rushers that are potentially still available here at the end of the first round. If you have your eye on a guy, I would rather potentially move up a couple of spots and only have to swap first and a potential second than give up 2 firsts for Trey Hendrickson, who I'm going to also have to pay. I'd rather draft another rookie. Shedeur will be drafted on Saturday. I think, not Saturday, no. Friday, I could see him going to the second round. I could. Wouldn't shock me. My boy Kyle's killing today. WJM, I appreciate you. Mark, why did Quinn Ewers fall so much? Quinn Ewers, when he was recruited by Ohio State, was definitely seen as a potential number 1 overall pick kind of player. He had the arm, he had the hair, all the good stuff, right? At Ohio State, he decided to transfer. They had C.J. Stroud. They were bringing in guys. You had Justin Fields at that time. So he wanted to go somewhere else. So he goes to Texas. And I think at Texas, he's been good at times, but he hasn't been good at times. Quinn Ewers, when you watch his film, you can tell that he has trouble with defenses that make a lot of changes post-snap. I don't think he does an awful job with his pre-snap reads, but post-snap, I think he finds himself getting easily confused, and he doesn't really see the field all that well. And I think because of that, that's one of the biggest reasons why he's falling. There's also a lot of concerns about his durability. He's been very banged up in his college days. Greg, is that why Sanders is not going to the draft? It might hurt his ego. I truly believe that is why he would not go to the draft. I believe that. I think him and his dad both know that it's not going to look great if he's sitting in the green room for hours watching pick after pick go by. I mispronounced analyst. Sorry, Jesse, I did, didn't I? Genty to the Raiders. I do think that's a strong possibility. That's one of the best fits in this draft is Genty to the Raiders, but will he be there at 6? Terry, how many true first rounders? 10 to 12. Hearing a lot of teams wanting to trade down. Terry, I think it's a little bit hit or miss on that. If I had to be honest, I think it's a little bit hit or miss on it. Let me tell you how many first round grades I have on this year's class. I have 3 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. If this would load quicker, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 5 offensive tackles, 1 interior offensive lineman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 edge rushers, 3 defensive tackles, 2 linebackers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I have 36 players with first round grades. Yep. I don't think I think there's a little bit of a misconception there. I don't think it's that teams don't think these players are worth a first round pick. I think teams look at this draft class and see a lot of players that are very equal. So because of that, they aren't necessarily interested in trading up because 10 picks later, they might get somebody of equal value, like the edge position. I've got 6 edge rushers with first round grades. You don't necessarily need to move up because the difference between, let's say, let me bring my list back up here. At the edge position, the difference between Donovan Ezuraku, who is my, number 7 edge rusher, the difference between him and Michael Williams, Mike Green, James Pierce, Shamar Stewart, and Jalen Walker is not that much. So if you need an edge rusher and you're in the back half of the first round, that doesn't really make any sense to move up when you're going to have guys like potentially James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, Ezuraku. Those guys are going to be sitting there ready for you to draft. It doesn't make any sense. Abdul Carter is, between him and Travis Hunter, are the number 1 overall players in this draft. Jalen Walker, to me, Tier 1 is Abdul Carter, Tier 2 is Jalen Walker, and then Tier 3 is Stewart, Pierce, Green, Williams, and Ezuraku. You don't really have to move up. Same thing could be said for cornerback. Travis Hunter, Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, Maxwell Harrison, Siobhan Revel Jr., Trey Amos. Some people have Azareye'h Thomas as a first-round grade as well. So, Genty and Ward are the only players worth mentioning. I mean, up at the top? Nah, I don't think so. I think it depends. Gavin says Ward, Dart, Sanders, Howard, Milrow. I don't have Howard anywhere close. He was a system quarterback at Ohio State, and he benefited from a good offensive line, good running backs, and maybe one of the best wide receivers ever in college football. And another guy that's probably going to be drafted in the second round, in Ibuka. JT's going to go get a few boards in. Casey, any chance Jair stays as a Packer this season? I don't think so. It sounds very strongly like they're going to end up releasing or trading him. Etienne is overrated. I don't think he's overrated. I just don't. I think there's some wear and tear issues with him, and I think the offense as a whole has been very. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been nearly as good as he has needed to be, and because of that, it's been an issue. Who you got the Pats taking at number 4, or do you have them trading down? Amix, I think they go offensive tackle. I think they should go Mimboa out of Missouri. They probably go Will Campbell. If for some reason Abdul Carter gets to them, and then it's Abdul Carter. Chris C. Kyle, hear me out. Green Bay trades their first and second for this year, and next to Cleveland draft Travis Hunter. What do you think? Green Bay moving all the way. Wait, where's Green Bay at? Green Bay is at 23. You're trying to move. If you're trying to move from 23 to 2, who said that again? Chris? If you're trying to move from 23 to 2, you're trading a first and second this year and a first and second next year potentially. You better hope that Travis Hunter is the missing piece that you need. And in that division, I don't think it is. That's a lot of draft capital to trade. Jason, who do you see as the Eagles' first pick? I could see it being one of the defensive tackles if they end up falling down there, whether it be Grant. Austin Nolan could end up falling down there, or Walter Nolan could end up falling down there. It could be Kenneth Grant, one of those guys. If a guy like Malachi Starks gets to the Eagles, that wouldn't shock me either. I also could see the Eagles moving out of the first round. What happened to Etienne? Again, I think some injury issues. I think the offense has been ineffective. I think Trevor Lawrence hasn't been nearly as good as what people thought he was going to be. Just a culmination of things because of that. T-Mac has bust written all over him from the Citizen. If you say T-Mac, I'm going to assume you're talking about Tet McMillan, and I would like to know why. So the Citizen, if you're still here, I'm going to give you a moment to break it down for us on why you think that he's going to be a bust. James Dennison becoming a member for the 33rd month. Happy draft day, Kyle. If a third running back were to go tonight, who is it and where? If a third running back comes off the board tonight, I think it's going to be Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson, one of the Ohio State running backs. I would say that they have the best shot of sneaking into the end of the first round. Where would they go to? Maybe a Kansas City. If Kansas City feels like they really need to add a running back or prioritize a running back and nobody's moving up. Washington, maybe getting someone to pair, like a Travion Henderson to pair with Brian Robinson. Maybe Baltimore likes one of those guys to pair with Derrick Henry. Houston shouldn't touch a running back, but I mean, they probably need one to go with Joe Mixon. So, Walt with a hot take. Raiders and Tom Brady trade up to Brady's buddies in New England, number 4, draft Genty. New England still has Will Campbell at number 6. Well, I don't think that's a hot take. I think it could happen. I don't know if Brady's buddies with New England very much anymore. He might be now that Bill's gone, but no, I don't think that's a hot take. Wouldn't shock me if something like that happens. Christopher Lorenzen, Vikes will trade back to pick up more picks due to having only 4 total. Christopher, they are definitely one of the main trade back candidates in this draft. Anna, if I was a parent of a kid in the draft, I wouldn't recommend him going to the draft. I've seen too many of those complications of players getting crushed while waiting. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the kid too. Would you rather spend it with your family? I think if you're Travis Hunter, if you're Abdul Carter, if you're Cam Ward, if you're one of those guys where you and your agent know that you're absolutely locked into the first round, I don't think there's any issue with going. If you're one of those players that could slide, if you're one of those players that's just not getting the type of love that you think, then I probably don't go. If you're one of those players that you're like, I'm probably a fringe first rounder, maybe someone trades up and grabs me, then I probably still go. General Manager Walt has Mike Green 11, Ezeraku at 15 to the Falcons. Listen, the Falcons need an edge rusher, so yeah. Gregory, Dion supporting Shedeur isn't unprofessional. It's a father backing his son if Shedeur performs the rest of it. I don't think anybody said it was unprofessional. I didn't say it was unprofessional. I didn't say it was unprofessional. I don't think anybody else said it was unprofessional. Absolutely, you should back your kids. But there's a difference between backing your kids and being hypercritical of organizations, players, front offices, coaches, and things like that because your son isn't getting the playing time you feel he deserves or isn't performing the way that you think, and you're trying to find someone to blame. And that's where things kind of get gray with Deion Sanders, where he's got a mouth. He's a talker. We know that about Deion. He's got that personality. It made him one of the best football players of all time, but it can make him really tough to deal with because of who he is. Would be hilarious if Browns draft Sanders at 2. Poor bastard. I don't know who would be worse off. Eli, I mean, Cleveland does need a quarterback, so I could see them passing up on Hunter or Carter to take Shedeur. I can't. Those are way too good of players to draft Shedeur. Mamboa will likely go in the top 10. No way he falls that far. I never said he falls out of the top 10. I've got him going number 4 overall. He's a top 10 player for me. So, I don't know what you're talking about, Tom G, but none of us ever said. What position will cause a meltdown when Lions pick at 28? Wide receiver. Because of all the Jameson Williams news. Strongest and weakest position group for this class. Weakest, you could argue that it's linebacker. You've got Jihad Campbell. You've got Carson Schwessinger. Both first-round grades for me. After that, it's a whole bunch of what-ifs. Strongest has to be the edge class. X, sorry if you answered already, but do you think, or do we think, there is anything the Steelers can do to save themselves? Yes, get a quarterback. 100%. You need a quarterback. Stop with the rotating quarterback that you've had for the last several years. Rosetown, who's the Niners' first pick? Mock has Nolan. Defensive or offensive line? Either one of those, I think, is the safest, smartest bet for them. Max, Lions trade up to number 1 and draft Cam Scattaboo. Okay. Max is banned in the chat. Not really, but please don't do that. Eli, teams often reach for quarterbacks, so I couldn't be surprised if Shedeur goes to the Browns or Giants. I mean, would I be shocked? I wouldn't be shocked because that would definitely be a Browns move. Commanders need a running back. Absolutely, I did mention them. Cowboys drafting a skill player, Jewel. I think they need to. I think they need a wide receiver. They need someone to pair. I think it's way too early to go interior offensive line there, so they can either trade back and then they can go with like a Wilson or a Booker later on, or I think that they need to try and move up somewhere in the second round to grab Wilson or Booker. If they could go Tet McMillan or Matthew Golden to start their draft, and then in the second round be able to move to a point where they can get Tyler Booker or Jared Wilson, then that is a great start for the Cleveland or for the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe there's a reason I said it that way. RJ Harvey to Washington in the 4th, Walt. I would love that. I would love that. I don't know why I would be nervous, Astromine. I'm not nervous at all. Rampage. Any teams you think will try and trade back in and take 2 picks in the first round? I think Cleveland is the best bet. There is a lot of smoke that if Cleveland passes on Shedeurs at number 2, that they will come back into the first for Jalen Milroe later on. If I had to put money on someone coming back into the first round right now, it would be Cleveland. I think Sanders is a very good quarterback. And I think he's getting ring through the mud with all the slander. I don't think anyone's slandering him. I know, Belichick yourself, I don't know how long you've been here, but I literally just a few minutes ago said that, like, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a good NFL quarterback. Like, if Shedeur Sanders turns out to beat Kirk Cousins, nobody's going to be upset. That's not going to happen. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a bust. And I'm certainly not dragging his name through the mud. I'm looking at it from purely a football perspective. If anything, I'm saying that Deion Sanders is the biggest issue for Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying it has anything to do with Sanders or Shedeur himself. I would be more worried about his dad talking too much than him talking too much. Casario has said they don't draft for need, they go best player. So I have no clue what the Texans are going to get. Anna, if the Texans don't draft a freaking offensive lineman in the first round, CJ Stroud just might as well order his casket right now because he's going to be in it by week 3. I hope the Texans don't mess this up. Genty really spooks me. I think of Trent Richardson. Bodie Ford, that's interesting. I'm not willing to go there, but I also don't think that you're crazy for speaking that either. Does he give me Trent Richardson vibes? No, he doesn't give me Trent Richardson vibes. Trent Richardson didn't even give me Trent Richardson vibes at the time either, unfortunately. Yeah. I can see why, and it all goes back to the competition that he played against. Cleveland or the Giants drafting Jackson Dart at 33 or 34. I think he's gone before then. Genty is not Gibbs 2.0. They are two different running backs. Can't help who his father is. Oh, I get that. And Greg, I agree with you. Yeah, Deion talks, but what if Shedeur performs and his dad's just a proud, grateful father? Nobody's ready to talk about that outcome. But here's the thing. Deion hasn't shown us that, right? We're just going off history. Deion is loud. He talks smack. He's willing. I mean, leading up to the draft, he was talking about, I don't want my son and Travis Hunter to go here. I'm going to make sure I know where they're going to. He brought this on himself. We're not bringing this on Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders has brought this on himself. So you can't blame the media for talking negative about Deion Sanders. You should just blame Deion Sanders. But it's Deion Sanders. That's who he is. I'm not knocking him for it. He's one of the best football players at all time. So if anything, I'm giving Deion a little bit of a pass, where if it's LeVar Ball who says that he's better than Michael Jordan in his heyday, but the dude laced up for 2 games in junior high and drank more water than he had buckets, that would be something I would be way more upset about. So there's two that we're talking about, a couple of different things here. Like, everyone's just taking what I'm saying about Deion, and you think I'm just hating on him and hating on Shedeur, and I'm not. I'm just being honest and realistic about outcomes. Greg, I think you're arguing something that I'm not saying, man. Because I don't know if you just got here, but Anna and I literally just made that point like 20 minutes ago. I think Deion is good for players. I think Deion is good for confidence. I think he is that type of a coach. I think there's some things that are a big issue that he should get better at. I don't think he's that good of an X's and O's coach. I think he's overrated. I think Dallas hiring Deion Sanders, when that was kind of a thing, I think that would have been a mistake. I think he's a good college coach. I think he's good for preparing players for what they're going to become, but he can run his mouth a little too often sometimes. So again, I think you're arguing something I'm not saying here. Let me just make that clear. I've never said anything like that about Dion. Browns or Giants trading back into the first round, Terry? Yep, I've got Browns being the most likely. The Jets taking Warren would not shock me. If we remember, the Jets and Brock Bowers were really connected last year, and then Las Vegas made that happen. What's my advice for the Arizona Cards this draft? I think defensive side of the ball. Cornerback, edge rusher, someone to create pressure or help shut down the pass. They were in the bottom third of passing yards allowed per attempt last year. I would be hesitant to say Fields is better than Sanders at this point. RJ, do we think Detroit will start using some draft capital to move up in the first round to get that guy that could push us into the Super Bowl? I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they moved up a few spots. 3 spots, 4 spots, something like that. They moved up for Jameson Williams. It can't come off as one-sided if I literally just gave him props a few minutes ago. Why do I feel like I'm talking to a wall, Greg? I literally gave the man props a few minutes ago, and you're like, you're only talking negative about him. I'm saying negative and positive things, like all players in this draft. Let's be real here. I have not. Holy cow. Please, chat. Tell me that I'm not talking to a wall here. Does anyone agree with that assessment that I have only spoken negative things about the Sanders family since this has started? There's no way I have. Holy cow. Do the Lions move up? Probably. I think it is possible if there is an edge rusher they want to get their hands on, they move up maybe 2-3 spots. I don't think they're coming up very far, though. One thing you have to remember about the Lions right now is they need to keep filling in younger players because they've drafted so well. They have to pay so many guys so much. Milroe over Dart. Absolutely not. If anyone drafts Jalen Milroe over Dart, I will roast the crap out of them. I never said Washington was trading out of the first round either, so I don't know where that came from. I'm going to cry too, but I'm just saying wouldn't be surprised if they grab something crazy. I mean, I trust what Houston's doing right now, even though there's a lot of questions. I know it's a long shot, but I'd be hyped if the Niners got the Ohio wide receiver on round 2. Emeka Ibuka. I like Ibuka a lot. I really do. I think he's too close to Pearsall, though. I would rather Pearsall stay in the slot and then have someone that could rotate with Jennings and potentially Ayuk on the outside. Kevin Judkins, for me, is a better running back than Henderson, a better overall running back. You think Eli will let his nephew go there? Oh, are we talking about Manning and I missed it? Maybe we were talking about Manning and I missed it. Genty like Doug Martin 2.0. That's actually very good. That is actually a very good comp. Doug Martin 2.0 is. I think Genty has the ability to last longer than Doug Martin did. Super K, anyway, Ted McMillan falls to the Cowboys at 12. Yes, I do. That's where I have him mocked. I absolutely think he falls to the Cowboys at 12. If he doesn't go to the Cowboys at 12, then I think we could see a pretty deep slide into the back half of the first round. Mark, am I watching the draft with Jake? Nope, I'm at my house. He is at his place. Taylor is with him tonight. I'm going to be recording breaking news videos all night long. My instant reactions. We're going to be uploading like crazy tonight. Oh, Gibbs' impact on the Lions. So you think Genty is going to make the impact that Gibbs did for the Lions. I get that. I understand that. That makes more sense. Okay. Do we think Aaron Rodgers will sign with the team by the end of the day? I have no idea. Fields will, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is even thinking of it. Aaron Rodgers honestly should just retire. Vikings should trade back right now. I still do think they do at some point. Super K won't be live during the draft tonight. We'll be doing breaking news videos, instant analysis all night and uploading them. So make sure you got notifications on. Make sure if you've got the draft on your TV that you put us up on your phone and catch everything that we'll be talking about tonight. We won't be live, but we'll be doing videos all night long. A big MLB The Show poll. Casey, you listen. The shows are absolutely ridiculous. I finished like 10 of the live sets so far, but it's going to be near impossible to get like Ohtani, Judge, and all of them. I need Ramirez. I need J-Ram. Because if I do, then I can finish off the AL Central completely. Oh, I don't have why is his name escaping me all of a sudden? The shortstop for the Royals, Bobby Witt. Yes, the chat's backing me up that I have not been talking negative about Dion or Shedeur Sanders this entire time. Thank you, chat. I appreciate you. Jaden, what do you think about Jihad Campbell to go before pick 19? My book has it at plus 260. I think a dark horse landing spot for Campbell, TJ, don't hate me, is going to the New York Jets. I think that is a dark horse landing spot. I'm not saying it will happen, but I am saying that is a spot that you have to think about. Where are the best landing spots for Milroe? Back in college for another year, if I'm being honest with you. I don't see anything about Jalen Milroe that excites me other than him being a very, very good athlete and being a guy that is going to need to develop for a few years. I think it's going to take some time. Kyle, I heard you say you wish Sanders never played. Oh, man. Middle-aged guy sitting on his couch talking about a Hall of Fame NFL player turned coach who has decades of football knowledge. He's just a hype man. I could be a middle-aged guy on my couch. I could be, I don't know. I don't think I'm middle-aged yet. I'm not even 40. So I don't consider myself to be middle-aged yet. I don't care what anybody says, okay? I'm not even 40 yet. And I'm not sitting on my couch. I'm sitting on this awesome Secret Lab chair that probably cost me more than you make in a day. A little fire there. Just a little bit, chat. It's been a while since we've been live, okay? Let's have a little fun. Let's have a little fun. Okay? You are still here. Listen. I am very good at what I do, and that's all that matters. Chat, type a 1. Hey, everybody, type a 1 in the chat if you think I'm really good at what I do. Meatload is now sponsoring the 2025 draft. What is that? I could see the Pats drafting Tet at 4. Nah, if the Pats draft Tet at 4, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Mason, huge Bears fan here. What do you think? It seems like we're trading up for sure. I really hope for Abdul Carter and not Genty. Bears went from plus 300 to 105 in just the last few hours to get Genty. Wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if they move up. I really feel like they're not going to move up. There's just like a gut feeling. Yeah. I would hate to see. I mean, but it wouldn't shock me either. Like I said this weeks ago, right? Like Genty to the Bears doesn't shock me at all. And if they feel like they need to move up to get him, then they're going to move up. They're going to move up to get him. The Eagles, I could see the Eagles moving out of the first. I don't think the Chiefs make any big moves. I think they potentially move out of the first as well. If the Steelers sign Rodgers before the draft, they'll lose their third-round pick. I think that's the only reason they haven't put Penn at happy. That could be a really big reason why. They also might want to see how the draft plays out. They might want to see who they can get. I got a gray beard. You definitely middle-aged, bro. Dude, my grandfather was completely gray by the time he was 39 years old. So, it's whatever, man. I don't care. I literally don't care. Age is but a number. It's how you feel. It seems that the Bears already have a trade-up agreed to. Let's check that. I mean, I don't have any news that something has happened. I don't have any news that something has happened. Greg, I know you've been around a long time, Greg. That's why, I'm not... Greg, that's why I'm not, that's why I'm not being rude to you. We're having a little bit of a fun back and forth. We disagree on something, but I'm not calling you names or anything like that. I think Jake said in the chat that he could take you in one-on-one, but Jake is a really good basketball player, and he's 6'7". Okay, he's not 6'7". Mac is 6'7". He's 6'5", 6'6". So, unless you're as tall as Jake, he can get up there too. I'm not seeing anything about the Bears right now. So nothing seems official. The only thing I see is that Pro Football Talk said that Bears trading up to number 5 for Ashton Genty heating up in betting markets. So I think there's probably been something that has basically said, hey, this is what's happening. I don't see anything that has actually happened, though. Oh, wait, Greg. It wasn't Jake talking to you about basketball. Jake was talking to Tom G about basketball. Sorry. Jake wasn't talking to you, Greg. Tom G just showed up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's who was talking basketball. Jake wasn't talking to Greg. Jake was talking to Tom G. That's right. I mean, if you don't handle your stress better... listen, I actually have been handling my stress excellent lately. Thank you very much. And trust me, I've had a lot of stress. Caused by a certain somebody who just... You know that song, All My Exes Live in Texas? I really wish that was true for me. Oh, man. -7 because I'm an NFC, right? That makes sense. I don't know who is dumb as hell. JG thugging. Mason, you are welcome. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Welcome in. Digging the fire going on between the peeps and yourself. You're having a little bit of fun. Having a little bit of fun today. According to Chat GPT. All right, I'm stopped. I'm going to stop, Greg. Fear Boner, I have missed these live streams. Genty not going to the Bears. Oh, I didn't say he is. At number 10, if Genty were still be there, I do think he would. I don't know how polls would move up for Genty at this point. 27, found my first gray hair last week. XC, it happens to the best of us. Falcons trade Kirk to the Browns and take Trav at number 2. There's no way the Browns would give up the number 2 pick for Kirk Cousins. I had 10 gray hairs at 19. At 33, I'm half gray now. And Anna's 3 years younger. Jake isn't 6'8". Mac is 6'7". Jake is 6'5". Jake or Kyle, first overall. We're a pair. You have to draft us together, okay? So we're both number 1. Fear, have I recovered from the stress the Lions put me through in the playoffs? I wasn't stressed. I wasn't stressed in the playoffs. They had so many injuries. I mean, I told my son leading up to that, I was like, man, I am... Yeah. I didn't think that they were going to... I didn't think that they were going to be... I don't think they were going to be in a position to go very far after losing Hutch and losing Davenport and other defensive linemen, and then your cornerbacks are going down with injuries. I wasn't stressed because if they won, it was going to be one of those, probably not making it out of round 2. Who else is packing a bowl? I am not, but you do you. Skill possession for Texans first round. It's got to be offensive lineman. Yes, Anna, you will be gone amongst the gentlemen who are 6'2" and taller. Okay. Chat, we've been live for about an hour and 15 minutes. Wanted to go live today because, just wanted to get people excited again. Have done a ton of draft content this week. Didn't get a whole lot of views, but we're not shocked by that. A lot of our viewers don't really take in that type of content, or they kind of disappear in the off season, and we don't see them until fantasy comes back around. So, if you haven't been watching the videos, try to get caught up on them. Lions fans were rationalizing the choke weeks before the game. They didn't choke. Washington was good. To say the Lions choked would be a disservice to what Washington did last year. TJ becoming a member for the 33rd month. Got to use this while I can, I guess. Get me some Tyler Warren tonight. Let's go. Love the back and forth, Greg. You too. Thanks for being around for so long, my man. Jeff Ibuka probably goes in the second round if I had to guess. Eagles breakdown, defensive tackle, safety, or trade out of the first round. Yeah, we don't get to do this often, especially in season when we're just answering fantasy question. This is a whole lot more fun. I do agree with you. But chat, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I got to go pick up my daughter from school in a little bit. She's got to go get her nails done because she's got a dance at school tomorrow night, so I got to take her to do that. I got to go pick up my son. We're doing pizza for dinner tonight. Old Papa Rich is going to get us some pizza. We're going to hang out. We're going to watch the draft. I'm going to be recording nonstop, so make sure that you are here watching everything that we post tonight, because it's going to be a ton going on. We're going to be breaking everything down from a fantasy perspective tonight. Breaking news videos over, and over. Peace out, everybody. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Peace out, everybody.